Well, let's begin with a special thanks for the invitation to come and speak to y'all. Invitations to talk whale doesn't happen every day, and I really do appreciate it because it's one of my favorite subjects. All right. So, with the big mahalos out of the way and a big thank you to Dareth, let's go to Tonga, everybody. First thing you need to know, it's beautiful. But for most people going there, it's as you go through the travel to get there, it's like going back in time. And all of a sudden, you feel like you're in the land of Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. It's just so beautiful, but at the same time, it's a little old fashioned. So, Tonga, what is it? Where is it? Well, before we get into that, my program is going to be about swimming with whales in Tonga. You can just enjoy those little views, those teases for just a moment. That is such a humbling experience when you get in the water with a whale. I can't even begin to put it in words, but uh, I'm going to try. So there it is on the map. Easy to spot, looks really easy to get to. However, it's not really easy to get to. Um, on a smaller scale, Tonga is located a couple of hours away from Fiji in the middle of the Pacific. So for me in Maui, if I want to get there quickly, I have to fly to California and then from California to Fiji and from Fiji to Tonga. Because if I want to fly from Hawaii to Fiji, the flights don't line up and it's a cluster. I end up spending a few extra days in Fiji just waiting for the next plane. It's not horrible though, is it? Quality problem. So on the map, you can see that Tonga's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Little reference, most of you have heard of New Zealand, Cook Islands. You can see there's a lot of fringing reefs, barrier reefs. So there's three major island groups in the Tongan chain. Um, I always love looking at this picture. You can't always get a good one when you're flying in those little planes. You always get the propeller going around in the window. So on this map, let's look for a second. At the top, you're going to see the Vava'u group. And as your eyes look down in the middle, you're going to see the Hapai group. And looking a little bit lower down, you're going to see Nuku'alofa. When I first started going there wasn't planes going straight to the Vava'u group, so we would fly to Nuku'alofa. This is the capital of the island. This is the first island group. It is not known for being the destination for whales. It's their industry, it's a great hub. There's Awa Island, which is a little couple few hours away. They get some whales up there, but for the most part, it's like a landing spot. As you move upward to the Hapai group, there's a lot of islands. They're all flat. So in great weather, it's perfect. In stormy weather, it's exactly the opposite of perfect. You might have heard there was a volcano recently, the Hanga Apai volcano, and it sent a tsunami and it wiped out the Hapais. A lot of whale watching businesses are gone. A lot of homes, a lot of families were displaced. It's pretty sad. All right, moving upwards is Vava'u, the North Island group. There's a lot of beautiful islands. They're fairly close together. It's idyllic. It's so beautiful. There's also mountains and volcanoes that aren't active, but they are a great protection from the weather when it stirs up. And it does stir up. I've seen a water spout pick up a boat and turn it over. And I've seen a few storms over the years. But for the most part, it's really beautiful and idyllic. So let's move on. So before I really get into the whale swim industry, maybe I thought you'd like to see what it's like to swim with whales. So a friend of mine who's a very good musician, he put together this song. I hope you enjoy it.
Footprint on the water to let you know I'm here. Whale song in the distance, I swear to be so near. Should you ever worry, should things turn out wrong, give you a sign I'm with you. Don't give up, keep holding on. Just keep holding on. We so take for granted every minute, every day. Only come to realize it's taken away. I'm your guardian angel, I'll protect you out at sea. Have your back with all that love, the love you gave for me, the love you gave to me. Surface clean, make clear the wisdom that these old eyes have seen. Raise your children human, they're human beings. We'll keep on singing. Boy, can you hear him sing? Boy, can you hear him sing? I'll protect you out at sea. Have your back with all that love, the love you gave to me. I'm your guardian angel, I'll protect you out at sea. Have your back with all that love, the love you gave to me. The love you gave to me. The love you gave to me.
Well, there was about 60 beautiful images that just flashed in front of you. I hope you all enjoyed the song. So this is what happened. In 2005, I was leading a dive in Maui during whale season, and during the safety stop, a baby whale swam up to me, and I was immediately hooked. And in the United States, you can't legally swim with whales without a permit. So it's difficult, even here in Hawaii, where we have so many whales. You can't intentionally go out and be with them. But there were a few places in the world where you could. So I researched and I studied and I asked questions and I went to Tonga. Tonga is one of the few places in the world that allows a certain number of vessels to get a government permit. They have to go through some training, and the government allows them to offer whale swimming. This is a lot of fun, whale swimming. I've got a lot to talk to you about whale swimming. But look at this boat. This is a tiny little, like 18-foot boat. This was the norm back in 2006. You could private charter one of these or go out in a much bigger boat with a larger group, which I'll talk about in a minute. Reminds me of a story about like the third day I was there. I went out on an open or share boat that took 8 or 12 people. All I really remember is I was not in the first rotation. And on that particular day, the whale gods were not kind, and there was only one group of whales spotted to swim with, and only the first group of people got to swim with them. And when I talk about the first group, there are rules. So just because it's legal in Tonga doesn't mean it's easy. Whales are wild animals. They do what they do when they want to do it. And we're hoping to have some interactions with whales. So we kind of have to do it on their terms. So it's not like a 9 o'clock whale. It's not like when I go to a dive resort in Fiji, there's a 7 a.m. and an 11 a.m. dive. It doesn't work like that. So that was my first experience whale swimming in Tonga. Going out on a small boat with this, with just 1 or 2 people, or going out on a larger boat with a bigger group, and then having to wait and missing an opportunity. So this is Captain Anofu Avea. I've had the pleasure of going out to sea with her many charters. But she's the real deal. She's the first female captain in Tonga, the first female navigator in Tonga, the first female to sail a 72 wooden foot canoe through the South Pacific. She sailed from Tonga to Tahiti and then onwards to Hawaii over a period of 3 years. Incredible woman. And we did a lot of charters together, and Anofu taught me a lot about whale behavior. But I'm really proud of her. She's a great friend. Using the stars to navigate is a lost art, and she's paying it forward, and it's pretty cool. So when you're going whale swimming, in 2006, when I went there the first time, there was only like the small little boats that you could go out by yourself or with one person, and then the bigger boats. There was no other options. But there are rules. The rules say that only 4 people can get in the water with the whales plus a guide at any one time. Okay. So if a boat takes 8 or 12 people, if there's whales present, they're going to rotate in groups of 4 in and out of the water. And this is great when the operator is sold 8 or 12 spots and he's charging everybody money and making a great living for his family. Boat's full, everybody's happy. People that tend to really appreciate those kinds of trips are what I call the bucket list people. The people who just want to go home and talk about, yeah, I swam with whales in Tonga, it was awesome. And so these people aren't really concerned that they're only getting 1 out of every 2 or 1 out of every 3 swims. They're not really in tune with all of the behavior or the nature or the conservation and the education aspects of being in the water with whales. It's just something that they can notch off their list, like going to Africa on a safari. So that being said, there's 2 types of boats, small, big, taking turns, or having the boat to yourself. Now, once you're on the boat, there's important things to know. And that's how to act and how to behave in a manner that the whales will appreciate you, will welcome you, and learn to trust you, so you can float with them for hours. The first thing that whales don't like is noise. And so people make noise when they swim, especially if they bring their fins like this and they break the surface of the water and they create a little bit of a wake. That's not going to work for the whales. They don't like that. They tend to want to disappear. So what's best is to kind of swim on your side and keep your feet under the water. It's not a speed sport. What we want to do is from the point when we get in the water from the boat, swim to where we can see the whale, make contact with the female, and then stop and readjust. And I'll get into the behavior part in just a second. What's most important is the female, is the mother. If she's content and we can enable her to trust us, really, really good things can happen, right? And the best way to do that is to stay together in a group so the mother can see you. She can see the whole group together, no matter how many swimmers there are. They're on one side, they're not darting everywhere, they're not spread out thin. And so mother can kind of relax. I mean, it's not easy being a female whale. You give birth, you have to do what, 150 gallons of milk a day to make a strong baby back to Antarctica. And that's a lot of feeding, a lot of milk. Imagine that. So she's kind of stressed out. All the boys want to separate the baby from her so they can make another baby, right? The competition pods. So mom is being vigilant. She's teaching her baby, feeding her baby, staying away from the boys, and trying to raise her calf so they can go home within a 3-month period back to Antarctica in good shape. What mother doesn't like is when people split up and start chasing the baby. So knowing that, if everybody stays together so the female can keep an eye on everybody, she's comfortable. If she can't see everybody, she's not comfortable. And guess what? Any woman that's not comfortable is probably going to want to leave. Food for thought. So there's some behaviors that we're likely to see anywhere there's whales. And depending upon the season, there's actually feeding and other activities like that. But in Tonga and in Hawaii, where I live, these are the most common. You come across one single whale. He's a singer. He's going to go down to 40 feet. He's going to sing for 20, 40 minutes. He's going to sing a song, the new song that year, whatever the tune is. And he's going to announce himself to all the other males and females in the area. I'm here. And so they sing. See, this is something that I've learned over the years and going to conventions and learning and hearing the experts talk about why they sing. And nobody knows for sure. That's the most current assumption, is that the males are announcing themselves to the community. I kind of believe that to be true from what I have seen in my experience. So basically the male is announcing himself to the local waters in Tonga or Maui, saying, I'm here. Eventually he's going to try to find other whales to hang out with, and then a female, and then there'll be a competition pod. But first, let's talk about the subadult or teenagers. We see a lot of this. These are the younger whales, and they're practicing, mostly males, and they're practicing what a heat run would be like. So they're rambunctious, they're wrestling, they're playing tag, they're doing fun activities that you can watch from the boat, and often get in the water and have a good swim and watch them play. Competition pod, not for everybody. The image on the screen right now is taken from a competition pod when there was about 20 whales all around, vying for the right to mate with a female by proving how manly they were. And so they were headbutting, pushing down, making big bubbles to make them look bigger, swimming up to the surface and then pushing other whales down. It was very rambunctious and rowdy. And getting in the water during a heat run is not like any other type of whale experience. This is more like a Navy SEAL experience, not for everybody. The boat is moving, the propellers are moving because you're in an active heat run, and the captain tells you when to go, and you just go. And you have your camera on your chest, one hand over here, bam. And as soon as you clear the surface, the whales are 3 or 4 feet in front of you, and it's all happening below you. You see all of the activity, the punching, and sometimes there's blood. It gets very, very violent. So it's exciting to get in the water, not right for everybody. Nursing. This is the kind of behavior that when I'm seeing it, that I kind of want to just give the mom a moment and say, hey, everyone, let's go back to the boat and give mom a moment to nurse in privacy. Because I know when the nursing's done, maybe there'll be some logging and some playing, and let's just give mom a little bit of a break. But nursing typically happens around in this area, and the milk exudes out into the water column, thick and milky and like cottage cheesy, and the baby comes and laps it up. And breaching. Breaching is another activity that happens a lot. Why do they do it? Well, they want to get the barnacles and things off their body, parasites. They want to look around. It's fun. They want to seem bigger to the other whales. There's lots of reasons why whale breaches. Nobody knows how many reasons there really are. There's a lot of them. I'm going with the fact that it's fun for a lot of the breaching reasons. Now, one of my favorite and the target of the trips that I lead and the behaviors that I'm looking for are the logging behaviors. And this is when a mother and calf, and possibly an escort, are in deep water or a shallow cove. It could be really anywhere, but they're kind of resting and they're logging and they're hanging around. And so what happens in this kind of a situation is when we from the boat see the whales off in the distance logging, we observe for a while, slowly come within maybe 100 meters. When we know that when we really know that the logging behavior is there, then we'll move in about another, I don't know, we'll get to maybe about 100 feet from the whales, and we'll get in the water 30 meters away. And we'll very, very quietly get into the water, and we'll slowly stay together in a group, keeping our fins underneath us, swim to the female. And what we hope to find is a female that will welcome us, and then we'll go down to 20 feet, 25 feet, and go to sleep for 20 minutes. This is called a breathing cycle, right? So the baby can only hold her breath or his breath for 4 or 5 minutes, but mom is going to rest. She's going to 20 feet, and she's going to be down for 20 minutes. So that's 4 breathing cycles of baby coming up and baby coming down.
Doug?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think we're having a little bit of trouble with some of the pictures. They don't seem to be changing off of maybe that first or second page on your keynote.
You mean?
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't change a picture for a while.
Yeah, you got to, as you're, because I know you're talking about nursing and breaching, and we didn't see those images. So just to give you a heads up.
I put all the eye candy in the slideshow, and the rest of it is me just really talking with a few wonderful images. So I have found that when I've done programs like this before and show 130 images, it tends to go way more than an hour. And I wanted to try to keep it down by putting all of the fun stuff in that slideshow. But don't worry, there's a few more really good images coming.
Okay.
And thank you, though.
Thank you.
So when we're in the water and the female is at 20 feet, we're going to stay together, and the baby is going to do his or her breathing cycles. And little by little, baby is going to work up its courage and come and dance and play in front of all of the swimmers. And because they stay together and they're within the range of the mother's eye, it's all good. And I've seen the mother repeat these breathing cycles 5, 6, 7, and 8 times. And so all the people swimming are just getting their fill. But that's not the norm. Usually it's hurry up and wait. That's what nature is. These whales are wild, and they are definitely not dive sites. The only thing we know for sure is we're going to leave after breakfast and we're going to come back in the afternoon. Not every whale that we see on a trip is going to be a swimmer. Some just are on a mission and they won't settle. And so I know it's fun when people are on a boat whale watching, and this is probably something they tell you in Maui or California too. Talk to your friends and the people that you're with, but always keep your eyes out on the horizon because the captain's driving the boat and might be looking to the right just at the moment a whale appears on the left. Um, and we want to observe every whale that we can, even if it's one that we don't swim. So I don't know if you've ever been mugged. Most of the times when you get mugged, it's a really bad thing. But in this experience, getting mugged is a good thing. This is when the whales like your boat and they decide to hang out at your boat. And so this can last 30, 40 minutes or longer. They just swim around, go down, come up, give you the eye, things like that. So that's a good mugging. And we always hope to get mugged during a trip. Excuse me, thank you. So I mentioned earlier that there's rules in Tonga that there can only be 4 people in the water. And so this now gets into a little bit about the whale swimming industry. So tourists from around the world go to Tonga to be in the water with whales. A lot of them, as I mentioned earlier, going just so they can go home and talk about it as a bucket list experience. But more and more, there's a lot of people who are really, really into whales and want to have an experience. So the reason I'm bringing this up is about rotation. A boat that has 12 people will do rotations with 3 groups. A boat with 8 will do rotations of 4, 2 groups, and so on. So people are getting less time in the water once the whales are found, but they're paying less than if they went on their own boat. This works well for a lot of people who just want to see the whales. They don't mind taking turns, and they have no grand illusion of wanting to actually see behavior and learn anything. It's more of a fun objective, like going to Machu Picchu. But that doesn't really work for me and a lot of other people. I wanted a more immersive experience. So back in 2006, I saw that there was a need to get a private charter boat and take fewer people so that we could spend more time with the whales and not have any bad juju or energy because lucky group number 1 got to swim and group number 2 didn't. And it's easier to also control the activity because a small group of people wants to work together and they want to fin correctly and work together because nobody wants to be the one that promoted the end of that encounter. So each day whales present different behavior. It could be based on the moon, it could be based on the weather. They're very smart. You never know what kind of behavior you're going to get. So that's why you go out and you look, right? That's why when we go and do a whale watching trip, we never do it for less than 7 days of whale swimming because you're going to have a day maybe of rain or wind, or you're going to have a day where the whales just aren't having it, or it's just heat runs, or they're just breaching. You're not going to find that wonderful logging mother and calf that's going to give you that opportunity to watch this really loving behavior when they log. Tonga is a very beautiful place. So I always tell people when you're on the boat, don't forget to look around and just enjoy the scenery. But as I mentioned, it takes everything to have that perfect whale day. Because you have to have smooth seas, good visibility. So this is a picture of what I just described. This baby is playing around. The mom is just slowly coming up after her 20-minute breeding cycle. She's very happy with the behavior of the people. She's not in a hurry to go anywhere. She's going to take a couple of good breaths and go right back down underwater. And these are the moments that I live for. Just being able to float in the presence of whales, be accepted in their pod, and to just watch the interaction with the baby and the mother, even the baby with the other swimmers, as the baby gets confidence starts to deal with its curiosity, tries to learn where its tail ends and where the human begins. It's just mind blowing. It's the most fun I've ever had, and that's why I've been doing it since 2006. Only once did I have an encounter where the baby got slightly aggressive. Her name was Frisky, and she was acting a little frisky, and I think she just really wanted to touch a human being. And Pat Mazina, I don't know if you're watching today. The whale looked like it was going to go for her. I'll never forget Pat. And so I just kind of swam in front a little bit, and I took the love tap from the whale. It didn't hurt. But the whale was so happy that it touched somebody that as soon as it did touch, its whole demeanor and behavior changed. It started doing flips and somersaults, celebrating that it touched the human, that it had accomplished something. I mean, it was one of those magical moments that I will never forget. So I've learned a lot about the industry because I've chartered the little 16-foot boats. I've chartered a big 50-foot sailing yacht, a 50-foot catamaran that I've lived on and stayed. I've stayed on land-based. And over the years, this is based on weather more than anything, to tell you the truth. I liked the Hapai Island group because not as many people go there, but it's completely flat and you need to be on a sailboat to do it right. There are a few land-based options, but to really spread out and enjoy that area, you need to be on a liveaboard. And when the weather's rotten in the Hapais, it's rotten. Flat island chain and strong wind. It's no good, nowhere to be. That's why I end up going to Vavau all these years, by the way, because it's protected. Isn't this an interesting tale? Do you think it got propped? I'm not quite sure what did all those markings, but it's nasty. So there's a lot of places to stay in Tonga. There's a lot of outer islands that have these private resorts that are really cool, somewhat expensive, quite idyllic, and very, very nice. There are hotels in the main island of Nifu in Vavau, and there are also guest houses. I've stayed in all of them, but I've always come back to the Port Wine Guest House year after year after year because it's locally owned. The hospitality is fantastic. They cook an incredible breakfast. They know all the local fishermen. When I've had problems, they were there to help me. I really like those people. So that's where I go. But really, the future and the way the industry is changing now. So it used to be that a person who wanted to go to Tonga would first book plane tickets, then book one of the accommodations, and then go and book a boat. But a little thing called the pandemic happened. I'll talk about that in a minute. First, I just wanted to show you this beautiful bay. This is inside the harbor in Vavau. It's a sailboat mecca. It's so pristine. On Fridays, they used to have yacht races all in and around there. It's just really, really idyllic. The sun sets just right over there. And oh, it's really, really beautiful. So Tonga was closed for 2 years and opened for like the last couple of weeks of last season. So next year will be the first year that it's been open. And since the pandemic, there's been a lot going on, from the war in Europe to inflation. And these people who made all of their money from a 3-month season from tourism have completely cut off. And not only did they not have income from tourism, they had the volcano come through and cause so much trouble for the infrastructure. It took months and months to get just the internet back up. So there's been a lot of things that have affected Tonga. Small, isolated place in the middle of nowhere. Funny thing is, they didn't get one case of COVID until the volcano came, and the rescue people that came in to help, they brought COVID. And that's how the COVID finally got to Tonga. But now Tonga's over. The whale season is going to be starting. but there's been suffering. And a lot of the boats that were there, a lot of the companies are gone, a lot of the restaurants are gone. Families had to do what they had to do to survive. And so now the industry is evolving. It's changing. It used to be, as I mentioned, you would find a hotel and find a boat. But now the companies are linking together with their own accommodations and their own food, their own transportation, and their own boat. They want to keep all the money within their business because they have been hurt by the world economy. And that doesn't mean they're going to take advantage of people. Well, prices are going to be really high, and they're going to provide the same wonderful service and island experiences they have before. But that's the only way they can survive. So this is one of the boats that I'll be using in the near future. Um, nice local boat. You know, for lunch, if we want to stop, it's easy to back up to an island and get off and walk on the beach. But getting back to how the whale swim industry has changed, so it's made me think how I want to do things moving forward. Um, in the past, I wanted to take the fewest people possible and provide the most nature experience that I could. Um, but now, with the economy and the costs being what they're charging, I've had to rethink things because it got to be the 2023 trip got to be really expensive, and I understand why. So I'm going to rethink things as how I move forward in 2024 and beyond. Instead of taking groups of 4, I will take groups of 6, and I'll do rotations of 3 instead of rotations of 4. And I will handle the rotations in a very professional way so that people get the maximum amount of time in the water and pay a reasonable price. So they don't have to succumb to the fees that are going to be charged just because of the global economy. This is another one of the local boats. It's very cute. This particular one is a catamaran design. It has 2 V-holes. Anyway, this is the little commercial for next year. If you're interested, you can see information about this on my website. I didn't really come here to sell you a trip. I came here to talk to you about how you can enjoy whale swimming and do it responsibly and have fun and make the best investment you can. So really quickly, if any of you are teachers or have young kids or grandkids, I made 2 films. They're on my YouTube channel for education. One is called Why Whales Matter. Spoiler alert, we talk about whale poop. And the second is Why Turtles Matter. We didn't talk about poop in that one, sorry. But they're both made by children, students, for younger students. And these older kids are paying it forward for the younger kids. There's a lot of education in these videos that will help children grow up and aspire to become marine biologists and to help preserve our natural resources. Important things. So I want to leave you with a little bit of a story before I go, and then I'm going to answer some questions. Tonga by far is one of the most beautiful places on earth. I'm very fortunate as a professional diver. I have worked in Palau, I have worked in Fiji, I have been around. I have thousands and thousands of dives. I lost track. I'm spoiled. And Tonga is right up there in the beauty of the topography of the islands. But it's far away. And you need to take care of yourself if you're going, right? So this beautiful mother and calf that you're looking at right here, they were with me for 90 minutes. I was 2 feet away, having the swim of my life, and my appendix ruptured. And, you know, I'm a man and I don't know what appendix is. I thought I had Tonga tummy, maybe bad food. I thought maybe I needed Tums or kaopectate, but it wasn't that. I was full on not having a good day. So here I am swimming with this mother and calf. My appendix is melting in my body. And this mother, she kind of felt something was not right. And so whales are mammals for three reasons: live birth, breast milk, and hair. On the nodules is one hair. It's invisible. You can barely see it, but it's there. Whales vibrate those hairs and create like a hologram, and they communicate with each other. So she came up to me when I was like, yeah, not having a good moment. And as it was explained to me by Dr. Eric Hoyt later, far down the road at a whale convention, that she used those to scan me, and she could tell that I was not doing well. And she was trying to tell me I needed care. It was pretty cool. But after she approached me and did this little energy thing, whatever, she took the baby and swam away, and I waved for the captain to come and pick me up and get me out of the water and take me back to the guest house, where I laid for 3 days. On the fourth day, a doctor came and had an ultrasound tool and did my belly and said, "Oh my gosh, you know, you had an appendix. It's not there anymore. It melted. You're dying. You're septic. We got to get you to a surgeon. Do you happen to have insurance?" I said, "Yes, I have Dan." So we called Dan. 12 hours later, I kid you not, a jet arrived from Australia. And they put me in the back of a pickup truck and took me to the airport. And I got on this jet, and I flew to Nuku'alofa just to have my passport stamped, and then they took me straight to New Zealand. And man, they operated on me, and a few weeks later, I was able to come home. And Dan picked up the bill for the jet and the insurance, because I had the right supplemental insurance. And I can't stress enough that in a place like Tonga, anybody going there should have the best insurance possible, not just in case of their, appendix, but for any unlikely event, something bad happens. I'm not a negative person. I'm always a cup half full person. But in all the places I've worked as a professional diver in Palau and in Indonesia, there was never a need to have, more than just like emergency evacuation if you got bent for health or accidents or whatever. But when you go to Tonga, you really need to be able to get to the best medical care that you can, because your life matters. So if you ever go there, make sure you spend the money. I hope it's a waste and you never take advantage of it. I hope you don't fall down and hurt your knee or whatever. I just want to make sure that everybody has the best experience possible in Tonga. Because I certainly would have not had a good experience had I not had insurance with my appendix rupture. So I'm about to answer any questions that y'all might have. I want to say a big thank you to the American Cetacean Society of Orange County for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you all about swimming with whales, how it used to be and how it's going now. Just to bring it full circle, people going now can expect to find that the boat will also be handling their accommodations and most of their food, keeping all of the money within their ohana, that's a Hawaiian word, because they need to from a financial point of view. So keep that in mind as you're shopping around. So I'm going to pause right here. If anyone wants to write down my contact information, they're more than welcome to. And again, thank you for having me.